yeah, just before we get started talking about perhaps my favorite film of all time, just remember, the mayor from Jaws is still the mayor in Jaws 2. It is so important to vote for your local elections, so remember to vote.
I think those ended a little while ago.
There, this is, there's as much Jaws merchandise as there's fucking Star Wars. I swear, the amount of Jaws shit they made. Like, there's probably a shark out there that's just Jaws tattooed on it, property of Universal. Yeah, until that actual shark attacks somebody. Universal.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not associated with it. It was a shark incident.
Yeah, no, literally, it says property of Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's
on
like
it.
in fine print underneath the Jaws logo tattooed on the side.
And then they had to tattoo a big line through it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they did. So this film, obviously, it's iconic and very timeless. I think everything about this film is incredible, like down to its poster. Everything.
Yeah.
The film invented the term blockbuster.
No, I did.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I invented that term.
Oh, rest in peace, Blockbuster, dude. You had a great idea, but you should have converted to streaming.
Yeah.
You fucked it, mate. You cooked it.
In hindsight, hindsight is 2020.
Hindsight is 2020 with everything that's happening in the world. Holy shit. COVID-19, hindsight, So I got notes, obviously, but they're... Okay, my computer decided to shut down. Awesome. So, I had notes.
I thought you take them on, like, paper, like a caveman.
I used to. But this time, I just had my computer
This
on
time
me
you
and...
decided to do it on your laptop. And this time your laptop doesn't want to fucking cooperate.
But, yeah, I took a bunch of notes, and they're in no particular order. They're just everywhere. Facts, little things you might not have known. A lot of the stuff that happened behind the fucking camera. And, fuck, there were some funny things that happened. The chemistry those three had was pretty close to what it was in real life. Like with, like, what was it? Quint crushing the can, and then Hooper crushing his foam cup. A lot of that was real.
Wait, are you telling me he really crushed a foam cup?
Yeah, man. That was
pretty insane.
That wasn't CG. It wasn't around back then. It's just crazy stuff.
I assume they, like, cut it and they, like, used a hydraulic press or something to crush it.
How impractical and implausible is that? To have that not in frame, how smooth the press would have to be. Is it inside of his hand? Does he not have the strength to crush it? Was Quint right
Like
all
in
along?
his sleeve.
City hands, Mr. Hooper. City hands. So, I obviously have watched this film a billion times.
Yes.
But for you, you haven't as much, and you only just revisited it properly.
I watched it for the first, like, real time since I was, like, 6, only a few months ago. I watched it the second time the other night.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about it?
I thought it was, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Obviously I had your glowing recommendation before I watched it, but,
Yeah, I'm like one of those crazy Jaws cult fans. That just like, oh, let's just go out and sit in the water and watch it like that. Let's just fucking do that at nighttime. And then let's just throw some chum in the water and attract some sharks.
that sounds badass.
Be fucking awesome. We'll have a couple people get taken as the characters do in the film. We won't get in any trouble. We'll be fine.
Hell yeah. That sounds sick as. We should do that sometime.
Yeah.
With the
Um,
boys.
so, uh, okay, I got my notes here again. Got everything. So, uh, yeah, it's in no order at all. It's just a bunch of stuff. Okay, better get started in just no order.
Yeah.
The
That's the
line,
best way to get started.
the line, we're gonna need a bigger boat was improvised. It wasn't
I
on the
did hear about
script.
that.
Yeah, and it was just thought up of on set, and the idea that the shark's first appearance in the film was on a joke had never been done before. And that's how you correctly subvert expectations. Last of Us 2. Um,
Oh man. Did you? Damn. A really, really good game came out that its plot revolves around cycles of revenge and stuff. It's called Maneater. It's about sharks and it's awesome.
oh, yes, I have. We'll talk about that briefly now. I've been waiting for this game. I actually been watching trailers and shit because it's Jaws Unleashed. But let's just
Yeah.
do it again and let you evolve your shark to have like
Hell yeah.
a rock helmet shit and
I was like, damn, I'm actually considering buying that. But if I do, I'm gonna have like no money.
I reckon it's awesome. I'd love to play it.
Hell yeah.
Like I
You
have
know,
Jaws
I want-
Unleashed still. I
I
fucking
watched a review. I'll send you the link later. But it's basic like the guy's taking the piss. He's reviewing it, and he's just throwing as much shade at The Last of Us 2 as he can.
awesome. Yeah, Maneater, real game of the year, everybody. Let's go.
The title of the review is Maneater Game of the Generation. I'm pretty sure.
Awesome. Steven Spielberg obviously has had like a massive fucking career. He's done so much, and to this day, he still remembers Jaws as the hardest production he ever experienced, and that he still has nightmares about it till this day. Like, just vivid nightmares of waking up in sweat in his 60s and 70s and shit.
What a loser.
No, it was a fucking nightmare. It was like every single day he could be told he'll be fired.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they ultimately tripled the shooting schedule and doubled the budget. It was going to be the film that literally sunk Spielberg's career, as in papers and shit. But the original shooting was supposed to be 55 to 60 days or so, and it took them 157 days. And the budget was originally $4 million, but it went to $14 million.
Yeah, I imagine the investors and Universal Studios were thrilled to hear about that.
Oh, fuck.
It just tickled them pink.
Well, they just kept like, what are you doing, Spielberg? Oh, we're going to come to Martha's Vineyard, we're going to see what you're doing, and we're going to send people there, and like we're going to just watch you. And yeah, so they were supposed to finish filming in June. I'm pretty sure this was of 1974, but they ended up finishing in September. But there are days where, it was raining, so they couldn't do shit, or the currents were going crazy, and they couldn't, like, anchor everything down.
Yeah, because it was all filmed on the ocean, or at least the scenes filmed on the ocean.
Yes, so it was the first ever full-length feature film shot on the ocean, and once they were out there and they were really doing it, they realized why there had never been a full-length feature film shot on the ocean and not in a backlot, because the sea is rough, fucking rough.
Just to flex, they should have built the sets for all the other scenes on the ocean as well.
They built an entire Amity Island on the ocean.
Yeah.
Nice. Streets and everything.
That's why the budget went so high.
Yeah. So there was days where people lost their tempers and were short of going crazy for 5 months. There were crew members getting divorced. It was insane. It was this crazy ass production trying to get this film done.
I like to think the film wasn't related to that divorce.
Well, apparently that's like it wasn't one. There were multiple people getting divorced because tempers were short. They were going that insane on their work and trying to get it done, and nothing's working. You know, they want to just get paid at the end of the day. Another part to this film.
The fucking cameraman coming home with Walter at the end of Breaking Bad.
I've watched my colleagues surpass me in every way imaginable.
That's the scene in like Ozymandias when he comes home and they have that massive fight.
Oh, okay, you've taken it up a couple pegs. All right.
Yeah, that's the cameraman returning from his fucking 7 to 12 shift, 12 p.m. like a.m. in the morning, because I imagine the shifts were long.
Oh fuck, we'll get to that. I've got everything here.
Yeah.
And I like to imagine he's more like Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man 1. You know how much I sacrificed coming home.
I love Spider-Man 1, man.
We will get to those. Later. We're going to get to those films. I can't wait.
Oh, that's so good, man.
So another part of this production, while it was all happening and starting, the script wasn't finished before they had started shooting.
That's a good idea. You should never prepare for things.
Yeah. So they started shooting in Martha's Vineyard, where the people reportedly despised the production. They'd never had a film shot there before, and all of a sudden all these people are coming in sets, and at their nice beaches, they've got a giant mechanical fucking shark in the water there. So,
I mean, I'm sure after the film came out, they were like, yeah,
it's fine.
Do you want to film another movie?
So
people have heard of our shitty little town now.
Yeah. So there was a screenwriters strike happening at the same time, and
man, this film just did not have a good rap.
No, it didn't. And what have we got written here? The books. Yeah, in the early weeks of the filming production, the book, or the novel that Peter Benchley wrote was in its peak of popularity, so the studio wanted the film done as soon as possible. Put pressure on everyone to get it done before its popularity died down and the writer's strike took place and whatnot. So, initially, Spielberg got none of the actors he wanted. He wanted to do the film with Richard Dreyfuss and Hooper, and he said, well, what Richard Dreyfuss said about the film is, he said, it sounds great, but I don't want to do it because it sounds like a bitch to shoot.
And he was right.
Yeah.
Was that the best choice he ever made, or the worst, because he didn't end up being in Jaws?
No, he was in Jaws.
Wait, who did he play?
Hooper.
Richard Dreyfuss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. When he first had Spielberg pitch it to him, he thought, it sounds great, but I don't want to do it because it sounds like a bitch to shoot.
I recognize the name, but I just had no clue who you were talking about, so I assumed that was somebody who didn't. Kind of like how, other actors turn down roles that they really should have taken.
So Richard Dreyfuss declined multiple times, and he even tried to talk a producer out of doing his job too, and said, and I quote, "Who wants to go out to sea to film a movie about a shark?"
I mean, me. That sounds pretty fun.
He then saw his own performance in his latest film, and he thought he was the worst actor in the world, so he turned around and begged Spielberg for the part. Um, the first option they wanted for Quint declined it because he was a real fisherman and he was on a fishing holiday, and he didn't want to come and do it because he was on holiday. Fucking.
I mean, yeah, when you're fishing, you're fishing.
You're fishing.
That's just how it goes.
Lorraine Gary, which is Chief Brody's wife, was Spielberg's first choice for her, and that was the first person to cast. It was a quick on-the-spot decision that Spielberg insisted on. So there's not much to that one, but with Roy Scheider, he met Roy Scheider at a party thinking about how he wanted someone who was the audience, someone who, if they felt fear, then the audience would feel fear. And he approached him, Roy Scheider approached him sitting and asked, "Hey, are you alright? Like, all on your own and whatnot." And Spielberg poured his heart out and told him everything and how he's struggling getting actors. And Roy Scheider said, "Well, I'm an actor. Why don't I do it?" And,
what a chat.
And the rest was kind of history with that.
Yeah.
I've got Murray Franklin here. I didn't have enough notes for this one. But Murray being the mayor and whatnot. I reckon they did a great job casting him. He did really well.
All the casting's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it really feels like a believable town.
Yeah.
Like it's just a small island that's kind of closed off and needs their summer dollars.
It's a summer town and they need summer dollars.
Carl Gottlieb.
They also need people to not get eaten by sharks, so...
Yeah. Carl Gottlieb was the screenwriter of the film, and he was the mayor's like right-hand man throughout the film. Yes, a boating accident. You know, the fat one with the... Yeah. So he's there until like the bounty for the shark, and then he just disappears. He's not in the rest of the film. But the screenwriter was in it. He wrote himself into it. And he said the hardest thing ever for me was having to write myself out of the film. And for the shark itself, the guy that did the squid for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, they had to bring him out of retirement to build the shark. So he's like, it was like a 70-year-old guy had built the shark.
Yeah, that's... Why did it have to be him? Couldn't they have got like the guy who did the monsters in The Thing or something to build a shark?
What was The Thing?
The Thing was in the 80s, but the guy would have still been around. He did other movies before he did The Thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, Jaws was 75, so I was 5 years before. I don't know, I guess...
You know, Steven Spielberg is just like, mate, you're going to do really well in a film like 5 or 6 years from now. Can you help me with Jaws?
Can you help me with Jaws, please? Yeah, I guess this was just the best option they had.
Sure, the guy who did fucking Leagues Under the Sea wasn't very appreciative.
Okay, here's a funny story. Now, there's holes in this story. I can't remember it exactly. But, Chrissy, the woman on the beach at the very beginning, they were trying to find a young, attractive woman to come in and do the opening to it. And she ended up coming into one of the offices and whatnot with, like, a pamphlet full of photos of whatnot of modelling and stuff, where she was pretty much all naked. And... You know, the guy behind the counter was like blushing and shit, like, oh fuck, Jesus Christ. He kind of like handed it off to Spielberg, and Spielberg looked at it, and then, like, didn't give a fuck that she was naked. The first thing he said was, "But can she act?"
Yeah, fair.
It was really funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Like, but can she act?
Was that like while she was just standing there?
I think she was. I don't know. That's why there's holes in it. But like,
Yeah.
something like that happened too.
I mean, fair enough.
So
I mean, to be fair, she didn't need to act for very long.
no.
Wasn't something actually like shaking her back and forth under the water, like a contraption?
Yeah, so what they did for that, they had about 20 guys on land, and then they were split up into like groups of 10, and they both had like ropes.
Oh yeah, they were just playing tug of war.
Yeah, they were just running along the beach and whatnot. And apparently it was really dangerous to do because she had no way to signal if she really needed help because she's already screaming and shit. That was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So
that's why safe words were invented.
Yeah, but it was very dangerous. I think I had some more stuff on it later. But I'm just going through my notes as they're in order. I'm sure we'll get to that a bit more in detail. Do you know why the shark was named Bruce?
Because Finding Nemo was awesome.
Well, actually, Finding Nemo named the shark Bruce after the shark in Jaws being called Bruce. It's like a never-ending chain of now all sharks are just considered Bruce.
Yeah.
And Spielberg named the shark Bruce after his lawyer, who was a prick to work with.
Yeah, no, I did hear about that. I read it because I went on read some trivia after the first time I watched the film, and I remember reading that one.
Yeah. So, yeah, the shark itself was a prick to work with, and his lawyer was a prick to work with, so Bruce was what the shark's name became.
I mean, that's fair enough.
He named it after his lawyer. That's great. So, with all the rush production, when they made the shark did work. They built and they tested it in fresh water, but the brutality of the salt water screwed all the electronics, and day after day, all you heard was the shark is not working, and that's been said 1 billion fucking times at this point. But if you haven't heard of that, then you've never even heard of Jaws.
Yeah.
Like, it's just synonymous. This documentary is called The Shark Is Not Working. Or The Shark Is Still Working. I think that's what it's actually called.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
At a certain point, that would be more surprising. It's like Steven Spielberg's like sitting in his room, and then one of the production assistants comes in, and he's like, "Steven, the shark is still working."
Yeah.
Then he leaves.
That's its 100th anniversary. He just walks out, the shark's still working. Leaves.
Yeah.
It's 100 years old.
Yeah.
That's it. So.
Where is that shark today?
It rotted in the back of like a Hollywood lot.
That is depressing.
Yeah. But yeah, the salt water and just how hard the currents and everything would hit it. It fried a lot of the electronics. Every 24 hours, a new piece had to be sought out to fix it, or it needed to be welded back together. Now, I've got a really, really funny story here. This is great. So George Lucas, creator of Star Wars.
Yes.
Close friends with Steven Spielberg. They made Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. A mistake. But, nevertheless, they were friends, good mates. And
I mean, it could have been worse. They could have made the sequel trilogy.
So, being good mates, Spielberg one night, snuck George Lucas in to take a look at the shark. And, George was just in awe at, this thing was so cool and practical and whatnot. And, was sticking his head in the mouth to get a look at the electronics and shit and see how it all worked. And Spielberg thought it'd be funny to close the jaws on him as a joke. And in doing so, they broke the shark, and they both freaked out, and then they split and they ran around like little kids. So he tried to eat George Lucas with the shark.
Yeah, that's the story of how fucking George Lucas nearly died.
No, well, the teeth were rubber. There's no way he was going to get hurt, but he just thought like being right up next to all like the switches and levers and stuff. He just thought you'd move on and try and close the jaws on him.
Of course that broke the shark.
Yeah, and then the jaw broke, and then it's like, oh fuck, quick, we better go.
Yeah, I'm sure the fucking people in production were thrilled to hear about that little tale.
Well, there was one thing they were even more furious about, and that was soon after the Times, like the magazine, shared a photo of the shark. Someone had snuck in and took a photo, and Spielberg was furious. He knew the shark. People knew the shark was mechanical, but even back then, they were worried about its believability, and didn't want people to see it. And they revealed the interior of the shark, like it was the Wizard of Oz unveiling it, and thought people wouldn't want to see the film because the mastery behind it is being blown. And but they had those fears and doubts even back then in '75 that it doesn't look super realistic.
They don't have those fears anymore.
No.
Have you seen Jaws 3D? They stopped caring about that.
So
oh man. Jaws 3D shark breaks the glass. Best clip on YouTube.
Oh, that'll be the one picture we use for the podcast in Talking Jaws 3. Just that creators could look at that and go, why did you have to choose that image? So many fucking images you could choose the one that haunts me every night. But yeah, Spielberg was fuming about it because, like I just said, it was like seeing.
Weren't they originally planning on showing the shark in the opening scene, which would have made it worse? But, they ended up not being able to do that, probably because the shark was such a cunt.
Yes, that's all pretty much true. It was going to have a spectacular opening with the shark coming out of the water and grabbing Christie, but the shark was never working. So, because the shark was never working, Spielberg thought, in this position, what would Alfred Hitchcock do? And he started looking at the film as a Hitchcock film and not a Godzilla film. And so the team were forced to get creative. Can we play with the horizon line? You know, and that got like the gears turning about what you can't see below the surface, your feet below the waist.
Yeah.
You know, and it's what we don't see that's truly frightening. So he made the audience bring in their imagination to the theaters, which made the film a success. Sorry. Yeah, I've got stuff from the Chrissy scene here. It's pretty much everything I said earlier, except when she's finally tugged and pulled underwater, Spielberg did that final pull. Yeah, he got to do that himself. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that, technically speaking, Steven Spielberg himself played the shark?
Yes! Awesome. They should have just made him.
That should have been on the credits.
Yeah, they should have just made him the shark the whole film. So the next shark attack, which was the one with Alex Kintner, when the shark was going to get him, he was originally going to like explode, shooting blood everywhere into the sky. And
that would have been a little silly.
And they trialed it a couple times, but it was just too dangerous. And they like eventually got it on like the 5th take after having like the scuba guy in the water pull him out of frame. Because it was at first he was just on the floating thing. It was just going to explode out from underneath him, and blood's going to fly everywhere. You'll be fine, kid. Don't worry about it. And yeah, it took him a while because it just wouldn't happen right. I do think it looks fantastic in the final film. Like, you can see the top of the shark like chewing and shit, which is realistic. Like, they don't chew, they bite. That's it. But to see that and then have the kid actually there, it looked good. It's only there for a short period of time, but it looks nice. So, they'd filmed 80% of the land stuff, like all the filming on the land, and saved like 20% of it for a rainy day, in case there was a mechanical problem, with the shark, that, oh, okay, we'll just film the last 20% of the land stuff that we have to film for the day. And they blew all that saved footage in 1 week. The ocean was relentless. Studios avoided filming on the ocean at all costs. And so...
And then Steven Spielberg set out to find out why.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember when, you're watching Jaws and stuff, that it's still a movie. So there's lighting, there's camera work, the whole crew is out there. If there's a wind change or there's a current change, the waves in the sea would be really violent. It would damage the shark. The SS Garage Sail was a massive garage on water which housed all the controls for the shark. But when the current was raging, it would blow the anchors that held everything down. That's how violent the sea was.
Anchors have literally one job, and it's not to move.
Yeah. But, so, like, trying to get a shot, the garage sail would blow away from the camera, the boat would blow away from Steven on the orca, and everything was just sliding in different directions all the time. And then when they would finally get it right and get everything perfect, there'd be a sailboat passing in the background, so they'd have to wait. And they didn't want anything like that in the background, so the audience felt as isolated as possible. They can't just run back to land. Although there's a couple shots where it feels like they could. It's kind of a little bit like, there is land there.
I mean, by the time they would want to run, the boat was already fucked.
Yeah.
Because they set out to kill the shark. They're not just going to piss off the second it turns up. Then, it turns up, and then it chews through half the boat.
Yeah. So...
Like, that boat wasn't going anywhere by the end of the film.
Alright, so... some of the next stuff I've got is about the three men and their relationship. So, the chemistry of the men on set, for the most part, was real. So Dreyfuss had just finished a film and was reading great reviews about himself and brought them on set and showed Robert Shaw, which was Quint, and said, I should be... And Richard Dreyfuss said... he was boasting about how fucking it got great reviews. He said, I should be signing autographs, not here. And Robert Shaw was malicious. He was like an instigator and loved to stir people up. And he really thought Dreyfuss needed a smacker in the head. And so banter...
He sounds like a dick.
so like banter began to ensue. And according to Dreyfuss, the actor who played Quint was just a character. He was one of the nicest guys in the world, but on set he became a troll, and Dreyfuss was his punching bag. And there's the story of when Robert Shaw said, I bet you couldn't do 10 good push-ups. And Dreyfuss was like, I fucking can. I can do 10 good push-ups. So, alright. You do 10 good push-ups tomorrow morning, and prove me wrong. I will. I'll do it. And then he walked over to Roy Scheider, who plays Brody. He's like, I'm gonna do 10 really good push-ups tomorrow and like show him and whatnot. And Roy Scheider said, do you know how hard it is to do 10 good push-ups? And so he failed the next morning.
How many did he get?
I don't know. That information was not available to me.
God damn it, that...
But it was hilarious because Quint would say things. Oh, Robert Shaw would say things. He would say things seconds before the camera started rolling, like "Mind your mannerisms." So all of a sudden the camera starts rolling and he's like watching what he's doing with his hands while trying to be in character.
Yeah.
He once said to Dreyfus, "I'll give you $100 if you climb to the top of the Orca ship and jump off into the water."
Did he do it?
I don't know.
Come on. You can't just say that and then not know whether or not he did it.
I doubt he did it.
What a pussy. I'd do it.
One day,
That sounds awesome.
well, it's really fucking high.
Yeah, I know, but it's $100. It's probably more than he got paid for the movie. Consider how far over budget they went.
Yeah. So there was one day where Robert walked up to Dreyfus and said, "Hey, can you help me out?" and like handed him his glass of bourbon. And Dreyfus then tossed out his bourbon into the sea, and everyone on the crew felt that and went, "Ooh." And there was some pretty high tensions on that shoot. The next shot, Dreyfus had to do. He was like fastening the cleats and whatnot, and Robert was sitting behind the camera and grabbed the fire hose and aimed it at his face. And that was reportedly the only day that Dreyfus lost his sense of humour. All this ended up inspiring the scene where Quint drinks a beer in one gulp and crushes the can, and then Hooper finishes his drink and crushes the styrofoam cup.
How did they get that effect, though?
I don't know, dude. It's just movie magic, you know. Sometimes it's a bit more than just...
Time magazine couldn't get a picture of the foam cup crushing mechanism that they had on board.
Some things are just talent and are just lucky one-shot takes.
That's what sets Steven Spielberg apart from other directors.
I believe that scene is why it's his best film.
Yeah.
So they had two orcas, one that was designed to sink and one that was like the set, the actual floating one, and that one started to sink. And it was after they did the scene where the boat like almost tipped. You know that one, but like it flipped up sideways. The boat gave out and it started to sink. They thankfully, after sending away like the footage, got that saved, and then Steven Spielberg on a megaphone, "Get the actors off the boat," over and over. And then the 70-year-old man who had his $50,000 piece of sound equipment held it up and said, and I quote, "Fuck the actors, save the sound department." And he kept saying, "Save the actors," and Spielberg and Dreyfus.
I mean,
and Dreyfus said, "Steven, this guy is 70 years old." And the sound guy replied, "Well, that's a wrap on sound." Oh, fuck. This is some funny shit.
Fucking priority is the actors.
Yeah, fuck the actors, save the sound department. And then as soon as Dreyfus was like, "Steven, this guy's like 70 years old," which is obviously much older than he apparently was, the sound guy replied, "That's a wrap on sound." Like, I'm done for the day. So, yes, Spielberg was threatened to be fired every day for 5 months. It was not pleasant.
I can relate.
Yeah. What else do I have here? Ron and Valerie Taylor they're Australian shark experts. Rep the country.
Oh yeah.
And Hollywood was like, "Hey, we need footage of a shark that's 25 foot and whatnot. Can you do it?" And they said, "Well, sharks don't grow that big." And
They do
Hollywood
now.
and Hollywood were like, well, what if we sent you a little cage and a midget, and then they would make the sharks look bigger? And they were like, well, yeah, I suppose that would work. And the real life shark footage ended up changing the screenplay because of how good it looked.
Yeah.
Because Hooper was originally supposed to die in the cage. But the stuntman, he had a heart attack at one point. But they were just getting this tiny little midget actor and cramming him into a cage in the Atlantic Ocean with these giant fucking sharks around. And at first, they didn't realize that because he's a midget, he doesn't, and like he's got to have a smaller oxygen tank, doesn't mean he takes up less oxygen than an adult. So he couldn't be in the water for very long.
How did they not figure that out?
They didn't at first.
Did he not bring that up?
I don't know. I don't think anybody was really thinking about it. But like the tank had to be smaller. And then they, so it means they had to get him in and out more often. And what happened is while the stuntman was getting out and fastening new shit on, getting ready to have another air tank, whatnot, and Ron, the guy of the couple, was sitting underwater and whatnot with the cameras and everything going. When the shark cage was empty, that a shark swam over the top of the cage and got its nose caught in the bridle, and when it became trapped,
which part's the bridle?
It's like the string crap. It's
That
winch thing
the
that
boat.
hold. Yeah, it's the cables basically. Like it's not a straight like wire or a line that holds it. It's like 4 from each corner. It kind of goes up in like a pyramid shape, but it swam in there. It got its nose caught, and when it became trapped, it started to freak out, and that was the footage that you end up seeing in the film where it's freaking out on top of the cage. And they got it.
Fucking madman! This guy is just seeing a shark freaking out like 5 meters away, and he's like, "This is gonna make awesome footage."
Oh no, he was terrified. He was about a bit further than that, maybe 20 meters away. But he saw it freaking out. It then flicked its tail
Where was
up.
that guy's cage where they were filming around real sharks?
I don't know, but you can see it in like documentaries and stuff how far away he kind of is. I don't know whether it was zoomed in or it wasn't, or
Not far enough away, probably.
but after the shark got caught and was freaking out, it flicked its tail up on board of one of the boats and then hit the midget in the face. And
It had to be him.
I mean, it sounds funny now, but he touched his own face and like looked at his own hands and looked at Valerie and was like, "Is that my blood?" And he didn't get back in the water again. He fucking refused. And Ron watched the shark freaking out. It ended up snapping the cables or whatever that was holding it, and then the shark and the cage came tumbling right down to the sea floor. The shark ended up getting out of it and swimming away, but Ron always referred to that as the scariest thing he's ever seen underwater.
Yeah, that's good, because I was going to ask, did they just leave the shark there, or did they get someone to help it?
Yeah, well, it got out itself, thankfully. And, they thought the footage was so good, they just changed the script that Hooper got out before the shark started going nuts.
Midget was a coward, though. He should have gotten back in.
Oh, fuck. I wouldn't. Fuck that. So, going right back to the start of all this with Peter Benchley, who wrote the novel. He started as the TV reporter.
Good shot, because he, like, I presume he got, like, a nosebleed or something from the shark hitting him. And that's what...
I think it was from his forehead or something. He was bleeding.
Yeah, no. Would sharks be out... Would they not be able to smell blood outside the water? I guess not.
No, they wouldn't. No.
You probably know a lot more about sharks.
Yeah, they can smell A drop of blood within like a mile radius.
Yeah, it's like one drop of blood in like a million or like a mile radius.
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty
pretty
awesome. That's why I don't piss in the ocean.
Why would you even think about doing that to begin with? You do remember a lot of people are listening.
Not a lot of people. It's like 5 at most. And
Well-
like half of them are already my friends.
So, oh god, my train of thought. So I was talking about Peter Benchley. He was the TV reporter in the film. Do you remember? He said there were clouds the shape of a shark, like clouds
Oh,
were
yeah.
Stanley Kubrick in The Shining.
Yeah.
When the book was first presented to Spielberg, he had no idea what it was about because it was just a big block of pages with Jaws written on the front. And he thought, what is this about? Is it about a dentist? And Peter Benchley based the book off real shark attacks that were occurring. I got a note here to put my fucking research and time into some more crap here, but I didn't. But as of now...
Only the best from Bomber and Griffin.
Yeah. Professional.
Yeah.
But as of now, Peter Benchley wishes nothing more than that he didn't write the novel. And...
Yeah, I heard about the author. He was like really upset about how it made everyone afraid of sharks just inherently.
Yeah. So... Yeah, I wrote here fucking why would an author want a bestseller, and it was because of the impact it had on the ecosystem of sharks. Up until the film's release, every news article, outlet, or TV program referred to shark bites as incidents and not attacks, which they are now all the time, as if sharks are deliberately trying to eat people. The film stunted generations into thinking like this. And after the film's release, Peter Benchley learnt more about sharks and had spent the rest of his life trying to rectify his misinterpretation of sharks by teaching people more about them and that they're not monsters like he once depicted them.
And then Jaws, the film, came out and ruined his life's work of trying to give sharks a good name.
No, that was after. The film came out, and then he started to learn more about them and seen the effect that all the shark killings were jumping up and people were just saying it's attacks. But he learned and was like, fuck, I was wrong. This is bad. I've permanently fucked the species. And,
I like
yeah.
to think he asked Steven Spielberg to help him out, and Steven Spielberg was like, nah, man, I don't give a fuck.
Well, I've got a really funny conversation they had. I think it's funny anyway that they had together. Okay. So I'm just going to show the conversation they had. I'm paraphrasing here. Spielberg said, "I love like the script, the story, and everything, but there's one problem: the ending. Quint is dragged under by his own harpoon, and the shark, after being shot and harpooned, eventually tires out and dies." Spielberg then presented his own idea.
That's lame as fuck.
Yeah, well, that was more realistic. Spielberg then presented his own idea. And Peter said, "Steven, a shark does not bite down on a scuba tank and explode. That's impossible." And Steven said, "I don't care. If I capture the audience and have them captivated and have them on board with these characters in the story, then I can do whatever I want in the last 10 minutes. And ultimately, Spielberg was right, which Peter Benchley admitted when Peter went to a screening and saw people standing on their feet screaming at the screen when Brody was trying to shoot the scuba tank.
Man. The last film I saw where people were screaming was Cats, but it wasn't for the same reason.
Yeah. No one believed in this film, especially Richard Dreyfuss, who was once quoted as saying while shooting on camera that this film is going to bomb.
They should have put that in the trailers.
Just like fade to black scene, fade to black scene. This film is going to bomb. Fades to black. So there's an alternate scene with the. Oh my god, I can't believe I've
Is that
lost his
footage
name.
like on YouTube or something of him saying that?
Yeah, you'd be able to find it. It was like an interview, but it was during the filming of the film. He said publicly, "This film is going to bomb."
I'm pretty sure actors and stuff aren't allowed to say stuff like that anymore.
Oh, they're not. No way. And I mean, people weren't happy about it, obviously, but like he was that like convinced that this was not going to work because of how the production was and all the problems they were having. But there's an alternate scene with. Do you remember when Roy's son's knocked off his like whatever board thingy it is, and then the other guy's knocked off his little red boat? You know, it's in the pond.
Yeah.
There was an alternate scene that we're gonna use where.
Didn't look like a pond. It just looked like the ocean.
Yeah, it did.
Well.
It did. So there was an alternate take on what they were going to do with this, but it was deemed too just gory and gruesome and fucked up that they had to change it. And the shark ended up grabbing the guy. And so you've got the guy floating along in the water, spewing blood out of his mouth with the two fins behind him on like a sled. And then the guy ends up grabbing Brody's son and like holding on to him and dragging him for a while before letting go and then being dragged into the water. And
what a dick.
You can find it. It's pretty good.
Total dick move to just grab a child.
by today's standards, you could get away with it. But it was pretty fucked up. It looked like holy shit. Yeah. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, well, fuck yeah, there's so much I could talk about. There's John Williams' score.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, Spielberg approached John after a majority of the shooting was done and asked, alright, you've been signed on to do this, what do you have for us? And John jumped on his piano and started playing two keys. And Spielberg was like, well, that's it? Yep, that's it.
Yes.
That's Jaws. that is Jaws.
And then Steven Spielberg is, you're hired.
No, he was hired. He'd been like signed to the film for like 5-6 months or whatever to do the score, and he came to see him. Hey, what have
makes
you got?
it even better.
Yeah, that's what it was. And he came in and he's like, hey man, majority of the shooting is done. What do you have? And John jumped on his piano and he just started playing two keys. And he's like, what, that's it? Yep, that's Jaws. And it's just...
the fucking best two keys in cinema history.
It works because it's just so primal. It's that...
Yeah.
As soon as it starts, something is there, and then as it speeds up, it's getting closer. Whatever it is, it's getting closer. And John made it with like the intention of it being like an almost alien-like world under the surface of the water because we don't understand everything.
I mean, that's fair. Have you seen an anglerfish?
Yes, fucking hell.
Jaws would have been 10 times scarier if it was just about an anglerfish.
No, yeah, kinda.
Those things are fucking horrifying. Alright.
Yeah.
I hate anglerfishes, man.
We've found your fear, we've cracked the code. Anglerfish. I think it's just because they're very deep sea. Like, the water's black.
All deep sea fucking creatures. They suck, man.
Did you know that we've explored more of space than the ocean?
I know.
Fuck
I
hell.
know. That sucks.
Do you know they still don't know how great white sharks mate? Like, you think about it, little sharks keep coming from somewhere. How do they even do that? And there's so many things we don't understand still. But
How do they not know how great white sharks mate?
they don't know. They
Just fucking
they've
attach
tagged
a camera to one.
they tagged a
Strap a
female
GoPro
one
to
time that was off the coast of Australia, and it was pregnant, and it was swimming from Perth to South Africa, and along the way, all of a sudden,
Quite the trip.
oh, they're global. They do that shit all the time. They on its way to South Africa, all of a sudden, like it's meters in depth that they can kind of check. It just dropped, and it just went down kilometers and kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, and then came all the way right back up, and she wasn't pregnant anymore, and then kept swimming all the way to South Africa. It was like, what the fuck? No one knows why or what's down there. They can't get there. But it was just...
That is fucked up.
Yeah, it's weird.
The
No one
anglerfish
knows.
are probably in on it.
Yeah, probably. They've got something to
They're
do
in
with it.
cahoots.
So, yes, talking about the score.
It's
it
not
was,
just the anglerfish either. They're like these eels,
yeah.
right? And they've got fucked up like teeth and massive eyes and shit. Oh my
yeah.
god.
Oh, it's cooked.
Jesus Christ. I wish we never discovered them.
Can you imagine what the guy who first discovered them must have thought to himself?
Oh, he's still in the hospital from mental scarring.
Well, imagine you see that and you don't know whether that thing will attack you or not, or like, ugh, or how dangerous it really is. Fuck that. No way.
Oh fuck, man.
I think Finding Nemo forever skewed my perception of them.
Yeah. Finding Nemo does not do anglerfishes justice.
Oh, they're
In
terrifying.
terms of how fucked up they are. It's like something out of a fucking Junji Ito story.
So, the music was unreal. Spielberg, he said the film would not have succeeded without it, and he owes like 70% of the film to that score, because listening or looking at the footage without it, it just did not have the same impact. And they got it to a point where during filming, they almost subliminally sunk it into your brains that when the theme plays, the shark is there. Because when they have the shark fin come up, that's like the two kids and whatnot, it's the fake out. The theme doesn't play.
Hoax.
Yeah.
I didn't know either of my viewings.
Yeah.
Even the second time, I forgot you mentioned that, and then it was only after the.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the theme doesn't play, and so.
Can you imagine
always...
if the Coast Guard fucking blew those kids away?
There is a real beach where what they do is when there's an actual shark spotted, through the speakers they play the Jaws theme really loud, and believe me when I say nobody is in the water when that theme is playing. Everyone gets the fuck out as soon as possible, and that's the impact of the soundtrack. It's uncanny. It's like nothing else.
Yeah.
I remember back in Adelaide, very long time ago when we were together, I was at your friend's house and in their pool, and
It was at my aunt's house.
yeah,
That's
that sounds right. And I think you played the Jaws theme or something, and I'm sitting on the edge of the pool. I couldn't. It was the first time I'd kind of felt the power of the theme, because you obviously hadn't seen Jaws properly by that point or nothing.
Yeah.
But I had.
You still fucking traumatized me with it because you've made
Oh,
me
yeah.
watch it.
Oh yeah, I traumatized
I
the
had
fuck out of
nightmares
you.
for years, man.
Yeah, was that? See, mechanical
I had to
sharks, they
sleep
can
with
do it.
I had to sleep with a lighter on for so long.
I'm
I think
so
I stopped when
sorry.
I was like 11.
Fuck. I'm so sorry. I didn't think. For me, like, that's young me not being able to understand that, you know, just because I can handle it doesn't mean everyone else
Yeah.
can. Because I'm looking at it like, that's a movie, it's so cool. But Quint's just screaming and spewing blood out of his mouth, and you're there traumatized.
Yeah.
So, what was I talking about? I was trying to talk about the score. It's unlike anything else and I think it's like it's how you don't even have to have seen the film, but you know what that theme is, and to create sound that is just associated with something permanently, like if you hear it, you think shark straight away. It's a testament to how great it is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love not just the sharks theme, I love the music on the ship. Like when all of a sudden the three men have to take action. Those scores as well. I reckon it's fantastic. I can't praise it enough.
Yeah,
But-
no, the score is amazing.
Uh,
There is no other film that I can think of that is even comparable.
Yeah. Or there's a couple, but Jaws, it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know, Star Wars obviously being one. The Superman theme, Indiana Jones stuff. Like, there's a couple that are, of
John
course,
Williams
iconic.
scores.
Yeah, John Williams scores Jurassic Park. What's the other one I was just thinking of?
Every time I think of the Batman theme, I always think of the Lego Batman.
So do I. I know it's Danny Elfman's theme from '89, but I think of the Lego Batman game because I've played it so goddamn much.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why when I hear it in like the Batman the animated series and shit, I go, "It's from the Lego game." Oh wait, hang on.
No.
But that's another one where. But
theme
even
is
for me, I remember I took like a test at one point. It was like listening to some themes and trying to kind of guess them, and the Superman theme came on. And I just was fucking stumped. I knew it so well, but I couldn't like pinpoint it. Where Jaws is just so.
I can't even think of what the Superman theme is off the top of my head.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ah, yeah, of course.
That one.
Yeah.
Na, 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 na. I'll stop singing. So
Probably for the best.
I said it earlier, and I'm just gonna restate it again that everything in this film is fantastic, and like so not just the sound, the marketing team as well, with the whole "see it before you go swimming" like phrase. Everything just kind of lined up perfectly, and it also did something that had never been done before, which was releasing the film in the summer. And it created the summer blockbuster.
Film, summer dollars.
But up until that point, films were always released in winter because in the summer everyone would get out and actually be at the beaches and go out and be doing stuff. But in winter, it's raining and
not anymore.
Well, that's what it was, and it just seemed terrible idea at the time. Like, why would you release it in summer? No one's going to the theaters. Just get indoors when it's beautiful sun out. And but then they released it. See it before you go swimming. It just kind of all came together real nice in a tight bow. And you'd see it, and then you wouldn't want to go swimming. No one wanted to go fucking swimming anymore. It's poster, it's so simple, and just tells you so much.
I bet mayors of small coastal towns were not thrilled about that.
Oh yeah, hurting real business.
Yeah.
So, Spielberg's favorite scene and one of my favorite scenes in the entire film is Quid's USS Indianapolis speech. What's your take on that? What did you think of that?
I thought it was pretty epic.
There were like 3 different drafts of it, and they were trying to just cut it down. And there was the first time Robert Shaw went to do it, he was drunk, and they got some salvageable stuff from it, but it was pretty bad, and he was upset with himself. But the next day he came in and he smashed it out of the park and just sold it. So sometimes
that scene is awesome.
So you can kind of see it a couple times where it's flipping between each day they did the take where he's drunk and then he's not drunk, um, but it was
No,
the
every
true
scene in the
story
film
of
is awesome for its own reason.
yeah, but
Like, I really like that scene of the two guys on the pier. And the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, those cunts are fucked. But turns out the shark wasn't even there. It
yeah, um,
was like
so
hooked on
yeah,
whatever.
so the the USS Indianapolis was real, and
Yes.
uh, and at that time, it still wasn't really publicly known about it. They only kind of just released information about it actually happening, like 22 years or something like that after it actually happened. And so Jaws was the first time a lot of people actually found out about it. And Spielberg had letters written to him saying, I didn't know how my son died until now because of the USS Indianapolis being kept top secret for however long it was. It could have been 30 years. I can't remember the exact date. But there were so many different lines for the speech that were thrown in by everyone on the crew. Roy Scheider was the one that was like, talk about shark eyes being black like a doll's eyes. You know, and it just painted this picture. It was fantastic. So, uh, uh, what else was there to talk about? I had an idea for a sequel and how to do it right, because there was obviously going to be demand for sequels, and
So, right, alright. No, I've got my own ideas. It's a pretty
all
good
right,
one.
pitch me your sequel idea.
You start the film out. You say, it was the fear of the shark that killed.
Ah, yes, the revenge. Oh god.
Also, Michael Caine should be in it.
And he should say, "Oh shit," as the shark comes to bite him.
To be fair, what other reaction are you gonna have?
He's so fucking cool in that film.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Nowhere. I'm gonna, because I guarantee you haven't watched that start to finish. We'll get to that one day.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. I've always wanted to
We'll
make
talk
love
about
to an
the other
angry welder.
Your films.
So, I with
So what's your idea and why is it worse than mine?
you fucking piece of shit. So what I would have done with the sequel, and especially today in this modern age, people are getting more used to scarier shit all the time, and you really need something just... It's got to be so fucking the height of like tension, fear, jump scares, everything. It's going to be so hard because people have been so overexposed. It's like being in a Michael Bay film and watching explosions. The first one's like, whoa, but then, you know, by the time you get towards the end, you're numb to it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like horror's kind of done that as well. You've got to really be scary in order to scare your audiences.
What was the most recent, like, good horror film?
I know The Quiet Place is really good. A Quiet Place or The Quiet Place. I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't shame me. I will see it. It's on my list of things to do, but I haven't. I know that's good apparently because the sequel was coming out till COVID hit.
Oh, yeah, what was I?
Um,
Oh, yeah, speaking of movies you haven't seen, I watched Parasite not that long ago, and that was really good.
that's great.
Yeah, because, I mean, I figured, you know, it won the Oscar, it's got to have some quality, and I was like, yeah, this is not that bad.
Would you say it's film of the year?
It's definitely films that came out last year. It's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be narrowly beaten out by Cats or Rise of Skywalker, but everything is. So you know.
Yeah, obviously. So, I thought if you're to do a Jaws sequel or a reboot, which it would be today,
Yeah.
how to do it. You don't do what Jaws was and try to recast them and just make it again but with a CG shark, and like, you just don't do any of that.
God, no.
Because you can't top the original. It was lightning in a bottle, and everything else was just like, let's try and recapture the magic in some shape or form.
When was it that films just decided to stop using practical effects? For the most part.
When it was cheaper to do everything in post. It just took less effort than making massive street sets when you could just kind of make it all digital. And it's how they were able to churn out the Marvel films as quickly as they were.
Yeah. It's also why the Thing remake sucked.
Yeah. Back to my idea on how to do Jaws right. I would have done the USS Indianapolis with Quint and have it R18 plus and whatnot, and it would be a real swing in either a hit or a miss. It might not be the most entertaining, it wouldn't have like that fun, joyous spirit of Jaws, but it would take it to that level of big, really fucking terrifying, where you just kind of start it with the torpedoes hitting you, you've got Quint as a character and whatnot, and you're just in the water, constantly on the horizon line, the whole film, to just never have that tension, and people are constantly being picked off, and the story can revolve around a lot of very like detailed and well written conversations between the men, some men going crazy, just the whole thing is, you know, this R18 plus, just insane, you know, just imagine being in the ocean with no hope at all, no distress signal had been sent, your third night, it's pitch black, and you can just hear people screaming around you all of the time.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's the way to terrify a modern audience, and to kind of do it without, you know, with the Jaws name and not taint it. It could be a swing or a miss, but that's kind of how I would go about it, to really try and scare people again. And I think it's been long enough now that you could do something with the USS Indianapolis without it being considered offensive. Although, I found out not even a year ago that there is a USS Indianapolis movie starring Nicolas Cage.
Hell yeah.
I'm not kidding. That's a real thing.
What's it called? We'll talk about it.
I think it's called USS Indianapolis. I don't know.
Straightforward, I like it.
Yeah.
Right to the punch.
I'll just find out real quick. 2016 it came out. USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. A war action film starring Nicolas Cage.
What's its ratings?
5.2 on IMDb, 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 30% on Metacritic.
This sounds awesome. It's still rated higher than The Last of Us 2.
But like the user scores, though, 77% of people really like this film, so I'd give it a shot. I really don't think it would be that bad. But I wonder how they would go with the balancing act of trying not to keep it boring while being out at sea the whole time. Like in mine, I wouldn't have it flashback to previous events.
You have to care about the characters.
Yeah, and that's what I'd do. I'd make it about just really well-built characters, and some people talking about their families from home, and then having it built
cliche,
up.
But I guess, yeah.
Well, you'd have some people that just wouldn't want to be there. Some going insane, some trying to drink the salt water, and some deliberately just letting go and having the sharks eat them so they don't have to drown, and so much. And it was the biggest shark attack in history ever, still to this day.
Yeah.
With the amount of sharks there was, and and it only took half an hour after the boat had sank for sharks to come. So you'd be able to keep it pretty vivid and going, and
Yeah.
I think it would make for a great film if you did it right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be easy.
The concept alone doesn't make it a great film. It's good filmmaking that makes it a great film.
Yeah, but I think if you had like Tarantino, like conversations and dialogue to really keep the movie afloat, interesting people and stories and how they even ended up here. But I wouldn't do it with flashbacks because for me it takes you out of the tense situation that they're in. To just all of a sudden, I'm seeing people on land and it's fine. To have you feel as trapped as they are.
We're not really talking about Jaws anymore.
No, but that's.
Did you have any more notes about that?
No, that was pretty much what I had as a sequel pitch. But yeah, I always thought of doing something like that until I found out, oh, well, Nicolas Cage has already done it. But I think what would tie it to Jaws would be having Quint as your protagonist in it all. And just knowing that, okay, well, he's going to be fine. He'll be alright. But
I like Quint. He's cool.
But yeah, I guess when I think of the film, I just think of the camera just at like water level all of the time, and just pitch black. Yeah, you could see the water, and that's about it. And you can just always hear faint screaming, and just it's fucking a really hard film to sit through. It wouldn't have the fun that Jaws has though, but I think you'd have to just try something different. Instead of trying to, we've seen what Jaws 2, 3, 4 have tried to do. It just doesn't work. So I think, for me, I would not try to recapture the 3 men on the ship and doing Jaws all over again. No way. Try something a bit more daring, and if it failed, it failed. If it succeeds, awesome.
Yeah.
But other sequels, like Jaws 2, they... Without going too much in depth about it, because I'd like to talk about this film on its own one day, I'll just leave you with one really fun thing that happened... Well, not so fun for him, but yeah, I think it's funny, that happened during the filming of Jaws 2. I'll leave you on this. Roy Scheider destroyed his apartment in an effort to plead insanity to be removed from the film.
That bad, huh?
Bad, apparently.
I was gonna mention, I presume they, sorted out the problems they had filming the first one.
Yeah, Spielberg didn't come back to do the second. He was like, no, I've had enough of shooting on water. I've had enough. And the producers were... They didn't want to do a second one, but of course Universal was demanding one, and they thought, well, if we didn't do it, well, someone else was going to do it, and they felt very protective of their... what's the fucking word? Their property, like the Jaws franchise. And so they went ahead with it, and they went in the Friday 13th kind of avenue of let's make a more slasher teen horror film with it, with the premise. Because they weren't gonna... Even they were smart enough to know we can't just do the same thing. Let's just take it in this direction.
If only J.J. Abrams was that smart when he made the Star Wars films.
Yeah. It's like, I know how we can make it another Death Star. But we'll call it Starkiller Base, so no one will know.
Starkiller Base isn't even an original name.
Yeah.
That's the character named Starkiller from Force Unleashed.
Yeah, so...
Who is awesome. I love that guy. The Force Unleashed games were pretty sick.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Way better than the films. Or the sequel films. I actually watched the prequels not that long ago.
Yeah?
And... Yeah, no, dude. The only really bad part is the dialogue. Some of it is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, the story is always something that always like interested me, like a Jedi's fall to the dark side. It's just the way some things happened in those films. It's just like a bit.
Yeah.
But Revenge of the Sith is really good. It's probably my favorite Star Wars film.
That was the film people wanted to see. That's what the prequel trilogy was intended to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a lot of the prequel trilogy, just it all began with rumors, and then George developing those rumors and ideas of, well, how did Vader become Vader, and what the fuck happened, and he was Anakin, who was Luke's father. Seeing the helmet removed, fuck, he must have been burnt on like a lava planet in a duel with Obi-Wan, and that's just kind of how it all went.
Yeah.
And so the prequel trilogy was announced, and it just started so far back with Qui-Gon and Maul and stuff, and Anakin being like 5. People were a bit... I mean, people were phantom menacing. It's a term where people are trying to defend it, even though they're very nostalgia blind and stuff. But I'm very skewed on my opinion, because I grew up with them, and I think that changes your perception of the films too. I personally love the Revenge of the Sith as well.
Yeah, I think if instead of the Phantom Menace, they had a film that was still before Attack of the Clones, but it was about adult Anakin. Or, older Anakin.
Yeah, I get what George Lucas was trying to do. It was kind of like...
Yeah.
I guess... I
has his whole story.
Well, he always intended Star Wars to be for kids, and it's very much made like a fairy tale, and he can't be with the woman he loves, and, he acts very childish in Clone Wars, and
then he commits domestic abuse.
Yep. Killing younglings.
I was talking about the scene where he chokes her out.
Yeah. I think it could have been really fucking good.
Yeah.
But there's so many things with those films that people don't appreciate or acknowledge, and that's the fact that with all 6 of the films, George was constantly pushing the technology further than it was at the time. Like, further than what was possible. Yeah. So, like, with the first original Star Wars film, A New Hope, now, like, how they did the models and whatnot.
I'm not a fan of the, like, enhanced version of the originals.
No, I have the despecialized editions, which are really hard to get, because love Star Wars and crap. What are they? Narby, no, can't remember his name, but he's painstakingly spent so fucking long making the despecialized editions to like return them back to their original form and release opening in theaters.
Yeah,
but
you never should have fucking remastered them or whatever.
Oh, the problem is George. If you went to go and see Star Wars opening weekend and then went back to see it 2 weeks later, the film was different. He was constantly changing the film, and never happy with it. And then after making the prequels, went back and put in all the special edition crap. Then finally released those as the only DVD copies of the film you can get. You can have it on VHS, the originals. Kind of.
Way. Fucking great. You'll buy a VHS of the good version.
But the idea of Harmy, that's it. I think it's Harmy. The idea of the despecialized editions was not that you can just watch the original, but you can watch its like Blu-ray restoration thing of its own. And they are out there. But what happened was I think the Film Guild or some shit, they like induct films into like the Hall of Fame. You must see this type of movies, and there's only so many movies in it. And they asked George Lucas for Star Wars, but they wanted the original one that made it what it was and how famous it became, and he refused. So it's not in the Film Guild thingy or whatever, because he just wouldn't give them the original copy. Ah, but the fucking Christmas special's okay.
Christmas special's fine.
No, it's not. Don't defend that. he
Alright.
actively went out to
our Christmas podcast.
Oh, you're on. Remind
We're
me.
both
Somebody
gonna
remind
be
me.
wearing Santa hats.
Yep, you won't see them.
Nobody's gonna be able to see them.
I'll put them on our faces in the bottom left corner.
Hell yeah.
Put on some Christmas hats.
Yeah.
We've really got off topic of Jaws here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else about Jaws you'd like to say?
Not really. I did have something I wanted to mention earlier, but it wasn't the right time to bring it up, and now I've forgotten what it was.
That's great. That's useful.
Yeah, I just thought I should let you know.
Awesome. I appreciate that. We'll never ever remember or know now.
Yeah.
Are you interested in talking about some of the sequels?
I'm less interested in watching them.
Yeah. Fuck. I can sit through 2, and surprisingly enough, I can sit through 4. 3 is the one I actually have a lot of trouble with.
Isn't 3 like pretty unrelated story-wise? It's not even about
Jaws in SeaWorld.
Yeah, it's not even about the same characters or anything.
No, I think it's one of Brody's kids is actually like grown up and works there at SeaWorld or some shit. But
was this before or after the fear of the shark?
That's before. But then I think the guy in that film dies immediately at the start of Revenge. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. Like, it's all about the Brody family. There's fucking so many kids and shit. I get confused.
He got busy. I can respect that.
Get busy living and get busy dying.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about Shawshank Redemption too. So many movies.
Yeah,
I could sit through 4 because it's funny. It's constantly entertaining me. And then it's so fucking depressing. Jaws 3 though, that's the PNG image of the shark swimming towards the fucking screen.
Now the best part of that isn't the shark approaching, it's when it breaks the glass.
Yeah. That transparent image of that shark just fucking... they stop the shark. It just hits the glass, all the glass breaks and flies, and the shark is stilted. Why? I can do better than that, and I've got no experience.
Alright, do better than that.
Alright, I'll do better than that.
Fucking make a clip that's better than what's in the film of a shark swimming towards the camera and breaking glass.
Oh, I'll just do what they did. I'll just have a picture of a more realistic shark getting closer.
Better looking shark.
Still look fucking better.
Literally. True.
Yeah, man. That's what I'll do.
Just a picture of the shark from the first movie.
Yeah. Instantly better. It'll like be poorly cropped. It'll have a bit of like Chief Brody's glasses in it and shit.
Yeah.
Still look better.
It's just the one from the poster.
Yeah, but I can honestly talk about Jaws forever, and I think it quite possibly is, for me, the best film ever made. Because I think it works as not just a horror film, it works as an action film, an adventure film, a thriller.
Family film.
It works as a comedy as well.
Fun for the whole family.
I just think it's what cinema really is. It's just got a bit of everything in it.
Yeah.
Like just every genre has dabbled into it in some form of fashion. It's poster, it's music, it's why you go to cinemas to see something like this. And I think that Chief Brody as a character works as being relatable to everybody, because everyone has been a bit, like how he's just moved from New York to Amity Island, he's kind of the outsider, and everyone's felt something like that at some point. And he's just new to this town, and he's the everyman. and it just works. Like, you know, Quint's the expert fisherman, and Hooper is the marine biologist and whatnot. So when they're in your company, you feel, okay, we've got control over the situation, we'll be fine. But Brody, you know, he's got no scars to share with him. He's not a guy even really like swimming.
Doesn't he have that like one wound that's like really lame?
I think so.
He has like a scratch.
Yeah.
If I remember, or maybe I'm thinking of
I
something
think so.
else.
I know. No, he does like lift up his shirt and like check, but I can't remember.
No, he got his appendix removed.
Ah, yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, that's right there. Anyway.
Yeah. It's like that's a real city slicker right there.
Yeah. What did you think of the shark? Do you think it holds up?
I think. Oh yeah. What I wanted to mention earlier was the line when I watched the film when he goes into the cabin, he says we're gonna need a bigger boat. I was just thinking, you fucking idiot! Tell them the shark is right there, you retard. Like that's something they need to know about right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just like calmly walks over with a cigarette.
Oh, there's so many.
But yeah, no,
so
the
many
shark
great
looks
lines.
awesome.
Yeah, no, I think it holds up. I think,
You know, it
especially
absolutely
with
does.
like it doesn't look like a real shark, but it looks like a movie monster. Like, if that makes sense, it's its own.
Yeah.
I look at it like it's its own entire, like, different species of shark. It's fucking,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it holds up really well, especially, you know, with all the tension building and not seeing the shark really benefiting it. Once you're invested in these characters and you're with them on this journey to get the shark, once it shows up, you're there 100%.
Yeah. The scene that. Oh yeah, something else I wanted to run. That scene with the boys when they go to cut open the shark that like somebody else caught or whatever.
Yeah.
And like all that white shit pours out. Is that actually what happened? Is that like what it looks like when you cut open a shark?
I'm not entirely sure. I do know though that the shark that they had like hanging up when they thought all the fishermen thought they caught the shark and whatnot was real. That was a real shark. And
Yeah, it
apparently
looked real.
it
I was-
stunk like fucking shit on that deck.
I mean,
no one
yeah,
wanted to be on it.
probably.
Um,
It's a dead fish.
yeah. But that was real. And did you know
Yeah, dead fish famously smell very good.
the woman that played fucking the woman that slaps Brody and whatnot, she
The mother.
this is so fucking funny, has had so many Jaws fans come up to her and ask her to slap them in the face, and she had been slapping people her whole entire life. And at like the age of like 80 or something, she said she had slapped her last slap, and she slapped the last fan, and that was it. And
That's depressing as fuck.
and it's in one of the documentaries, and it's a very serious documentary, and all of a sudden it just goes into like real fun and talks about how many people she slapped, and it plays like a slap effect, and then all of a sudden where they say she slapped her last slap, like the original image of her slapping Brody in the film is like in slow-mo black and white, and then has the wasted GTA sound effect over it. Like
What documentary is this from?
I think it's The Shark Is Still Working. There's a bunch of documentaries to check out.
Yeah.
And
I
a lot
presume
of them,
they're all on YouTube or something.
yeah, you will be able to find the one that's attached to the original DVD, which was the making of Jaws, and it's split into two parts. They're about 15 minutes each, and then The Shark Is Still Working. You might need to find that
the
elsewhere.
first part is the making of Jaws, and the second part is Steven Spielberg writing his suicide note.
Yeah, but fucking the experience. But see, like even with Alex Kintner's mum and whatnot, there's so much stuff I can talk about that I'm just not thinking of.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, man, I didn't know. That's like the fucking thing of Breaking Bad fans just fucking throwing pizzas onto the roof of their house. But that's such a dick move.
they really did that.
Yeah, people do that. People have done that. Because the thing is, that's a real house, and there are people who live there.
Oh, to that one specific house.
Yeah, that house.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. Fucking hell. I like to imagine there was like 6 pizzas up there and some were broken apart and hanging off the fucking, like, what's it called? The gutter and...
Yeah.
and then it rains
I'm
and...
pretty sure I heard Bryan Cranston actually got that for a first try.
Yeah, he did. That was an accident. And it flew up there and it just landed perfectly. And they just, like, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
Steering us back to Jaws for a second, I'm just looking at images of the shark. I think the design's fucking awesome. It really works as, like, it's skin and whatnot. Like, the grey, it's still... It looks right. Coming out of the water and whatnot. And then all the red around the mouth and whatnot and... Fucking... Like, it's around its gums and shit. It looks good.
Wait, it's red around the gums?
Yeah.
I think it's got gingivitis.
Shit, here. I'll just send you an image of it again.
Because one of my cats, his gums have gotten really red, so we have to brush his teeth. He's got gingivitis. I'm worried about that shark's health.
Well, yeah, here, take a look at this image of the ending and whatnot. Yeah, no, he's got some red around it.
Oh, damn. They need to get someone in there with the Lightning McQueen toothbrush that we bought for our cat.
Yeah, no, it looks
Because
looks good.
my
Fuck,
mom asked me while I was at Coles once, just like, can you buy a kid's toothbrush for our cat? And then I was in there and suits our cat the best.
Yeah. Have you seen the?
I wanted to get like a Spider-Man one, but there were no Spider-Man toothbrushes.
Oh,
Because obviously, you know, Spider-Man.
I just sent you another image of the alternate scene where Quint crawls right back out the shark's mouth.
Hell yeah!
So,
Why is he naked?
because the shark ate his clothes, but he found a little boy's yellow hat in there and put that on and made his way out.
Hell yeah!
He's the ultimate fisherman, right? This is how shit works. So yeah, that's a real photo, obviously, but it's just on set. It's ridiculous. Yeah, fuck. It's just the impact of this movie. It can't be summed up in 2 hours. There's so much.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Pretty much this entire time I've been deliberating what I'm going to do after the podcast is over. And I decided that I'm going to go to EB Games and I'm going to go buy a Man-Eater.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Buy Man-Eater. Play some Man-Eater, upload it, and I'll link it at the end of this video.
Because,
I'll do it. I want to see you play Man-Eater and just eat some people.
Yeah. I'm going to go get Man-Eater and I'm going to pre-order Cyberpunk 2077.
That's the way.
Then I'm going to have no money.
Yes.
On me. Which is why I'm a responsible 19-year-old.
Yes. Jaws 19. This time it's really, really, really personal. Directed by Max Spielberg. Damn.
Yeah, my least favorite joke in Back to the Future 2 is the Jaws. It's like Jaws like 65 or whatever in the future.
Yeah.
And he says the shark still looks fake.
Yeah.
But the
Bastard.
shark from the first film doesn't look that fake.
Nah. No, they did a pretty good
Back
job.
to the Future directed by?
Oh, fuck. You've just stumped me. I can't remember. Hang on. Um, yeah. Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, that's I know the name, but I
Yeah.
can't think of anything else he's done.
Hang on. I'll just find out.
I really like the Back to the Future film. Like, I like the way all three of them tie together. Like, there's references to the third film in the second film.
Yeah. Yeah, Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis, he also did Forrest Gump and Castaway
Yeah.
and Back to the Future 2. And
Also, Back
Romancing
to the Future 3,
the Stone and the Polar Express and A Christmas Carol.
He did a fair few Tom Hanks movies.
And Monster House. And
I love Monster House.
I love Monster House.
Monster House is so good, man. I fucking love that movie.
I love how when they animated the whole film and it looked fluid, and they deliberately like took frames out everywhere so it made it look more like stop motion.
Yeah, so many people say that movie's not good.
No,
Maybe
I really like
I
it.
have
I reckon it's really creative.
Nostalgia goggles on.
Maybe that's what we can.
I fucking love Monster House.
Maybe that's what we
I'd
can visit
love
next
to-
week. I'd love to watch it again.
Fucking yeah.
Get into it. There's a lot of films we can talk about next week though. Not
Yeah.
sure where to start.
We've still got a few on the back burner that we haven't spoken about yet, like Young Sheldon.
Oh fuck. It's not a movie, so we don't have to talk about it. We haven't talked about a show yet, have we? Hang on.
We talked about Breaking Bad in the still unreleased podcast.
Yeah, well that comes at 100 subscribers, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I still haven't had the time to make a bunch of bot accounts.
Yeah.
But know that when you suddenly shoot up in subscribers, it's not because of your own merits, it's just because I finally bothered to do it.
You finally just paid off some bots.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's... What was the
I went
other
through and
film?
made a couple dozen more.
What's the other film we were going to talk about? It was going to be like the third podcast and we never got to it. Oh, Sleepwalkers. We gotta watch Sleepwalkers at some point. We will do it. This will be the film that we'll never ever talk about, but we'll say we'll get to it eventually. Like maybe.
And also, Young Sheldon's going to be the show that we'll apparently never talk about. But I hope that one day you'll give in if I just keep asking.
All right. 1,000 subscribers, and I'll talk about Young Sheldon.
All right.
That's what I'll do.
All right.
Ah, man.
I think I can make 998 accounts.
Hey, you said I've only got 2 subscribers.
How many do you have? Like 6?
22.
Okay. I just figured if you hit exactly 1,000, it wouldn't be very believable.
Yeah. The other one though, off topic, the one where I talk about video games. Well, I don't talk about them, I play them. That's got 126. Where's my phone? I'll find it. I got
How is the Dark Knight video doing?
I was just about to check that right now.
Man, it's a shame your fucking swan song was the video that made that channel actually popular.
126 subscribers, 326 likes, and 8,600 views.
806,000 views?
8,600 views.
Oh, okay. That's alright, that's a bit more believable.
Yeah. Yeah, people want another one and I'm working on it. Oh, here's another comment. This deserves more recognition. The other was pretty bad. but it was hilarious. But this one was well made. Thank you.
Give a shout out to that person.
Yep. Prowl the Gamer.
Hell yeah.
I heard you,
love
buddy.
that guy.
I heard you, and I'm trying, but they
He
take a
probably
really
doesn't
long
watch
time.
this channel.
I know he doesn't, but I'm trying.
Maybe one day he will.
Maybe one day.
And he'll find out watching this podcast. He's like, oh, these two jokers, they made that one.
Yep. He'll never find
And it was a. I can personally attest that working with this guy is a pain.
Yep. Oh, I'm bad. Especially when it comes to the GTA ones. Fuck, they just take so long.
That's because it's just like, oh my god, if you could use Rockstar Editor and multiplayer and manipulate time of day, all of our problems would be fucking solved.
Oh yeah, because now we're gonna work at nighttime. Yay!
Well, I mean, the one with, I guess, yeah, you probably. I don't know if it's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah. No. I'll be right back. Hang on.
He doesn't know what I'm saying right now, but he find out when he rewatches the footage. So this is my opportunity to do something super epic. I was thinking of just whipping my cock out, but that's more of a visual gag. It doesn't quite carry over as well. It's quite the conundrum. And for my third point, none of the Jews were at the World Trade Center on September 11th.
Okay, we're ending it.
That's very suspicious.
Thanks everybody so much for joining us, and I will see you next time. Bye everybody.